All right. Thank you, Bryan. Um, okay, so I'm going to stop clicking admit. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're dialing from. Thank you for joining us. So, uh, Bryan, you're driving, right? So, do I ask you to advance the slides?
I'll try to.
So, thank you. Uh, Healthcare medicine started with the notion of first doing no harm, right? And that's a very noble sentiment. Today, because of the complexity, because of the financial constraints, because of the general risk aversion, uh, all these things get in the way of us developing new and delivering things that could help patients, could save lives. Next slide, please. Um, I would like you to think back to 1922. So in 1922, a young boy received the first ever insulin injection as treatment for diabetes. And at the time, that was a miracle drug, that was a breakthrough in medicine. And then from 1922, for many decades, until pretty much the end of the 20th century, that's what it looked like. Not much has changed, and it worked, and nobody nobody did anything to improve on this. Next slide, please. But then something incredible happened. Uh, Eli Lilly partnered with IDEO, with the world-class innovation company, to reimagine insulin delivery and to develop this device, the QuickPen, right? And QuickPen dramatically changed how patients treated their diabetes, or how they managed their diabetes, I should say. Uh, Next slide, please. Adherence improved dramatically. Patient experience improved dramatically. It was a real breakthrough. But here's the kicker. It took 15 years and millions of dollars uh, for Eli Lilly and IDEO to get to this device. Next slide. You see, the thing is, about once in a generation, technology makes a giant leap forward that changes everything. In the 1990s, it was the internet. In 2007, it was the iPhone. And I believe that now we're living through another moment in time like this that will move everything that we do ahead by leaps and bounds. In November of 22, uh, OpenAI released GPT 3.5, and all of a sudden, AI was no longer the technology that was 20 years away and always would be, as the joke went around. Uh, it became a technology widely available at your fingertips that could cross-reference and correlate massive amounts of real-world data in seconds. Next slide, please. But the thing is, it's not really about technology, or not about just the technology, right? It's not about replacing human creativity. Uh, this technology can collaborate, or we can collaborate with this technology. This technology is about enhancing human creativity and working together with it. It's about smart humans equipped with this amazing technology. Next slide. Imagine validating both the technology and the business case at the same time. No more great ideas failing because they were not marketable. For existing products, we can test multiple enhancements in a very short period of time. We can test them with virtual personas. We can test them with virtual customers, giving you a crystal clear picture of where to focus next. This technology breaks down the silos, bringing fresh perspectives across multiple industries. which has been an issue in healthcare, among others. And what's really amazing about this is that it's not the future, it's not science fiction. This is happening right now. And in a moment, we will show you exactly how this works. But first, who are we? Next slide, please. Uh, my name is Andrew Perry. I've been in technology for 20 years, and I've worked in some of the most change-resistant environments on the planet. I led the team that rebuilt the rural healthcare program for the USF, uh, growing the program 5x in 2.5 years. What got me into healthcare is really a very personal experience. When my son was born, it was a very difficult delivery. And when I picked him up for the first time, two things became crystal clear to me. First was that I loved that kid more than I ever loved anything else in my life. And the second was that I would spend the rest of my career helping the magical doctors who saved my wife's and my son's life. So that's why I'm doing this. Bryan, over to you.
Okay. I'm Bryan Cassady. Some of you know me. My background, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done 11 companies in 6 different countries with 8 exits on the outside. In the healthcare sector, I was the CEO of a company called SweetBee, which didn't make it, by the way. It's one of my failed startups. And I was the global marketing director of IBA, which is the leader in proton therapy. I've worked with Novartis, AstraZeneca, Bayer, bunch of hospitals, HMOs, and insurance. I also work with a couple accelerators and leading universities. The big thing in my life right now has been a change back to contribution. And I'm on a mission to train 1 million innovators by 2027. Now, to put this in perspective, I trained 5,000 people last year, which means I have 199 years to go, but I'm optimistic. I will get there. And the way that I do this is by running learn by doing courses augmented by AI and running sprints with people like you to make things happen better and faster. And I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, pleasure to be with all of you. My name is Oliver Schreck. I'm been in the medtech for now over 25 years in a variety of bigger companies around the globe, in the US, in Europe, in China. So my passion really is medtech. Beside this, I like innovation. I've myself have over 25 patents that have been granted around the world. I'm advising startup companies in the medtech space, supporting them to get the foot off the ground moving forward. And I've been involved in AI since over 24 years. Well, at that time, it was not called AI, it was called neural networks. And we were using this in order to improve medical images within Siemens, which failed at that time due to computing power, which nowadays now we have, and we are happy to see the results moving forward. I don't have such a nice picture as Andrew or Bryan here, but I'm kind of fascinated by the America's Cup and the competition of these boats here. This is from 2013 in the San Francisco Bay, where it was amazing to see, although everyone has the same boat, at the end, it's the winning team. It's how you work together, how you collaborate, that makes a team win at the end. Yeah, next slide, please. So why are we together? Well, we all three here have kind of a passion for healthcare. We want to accelerate the innovation in healthcare, at the end to save and improve the lives. And we want to do this utilizing AI-augmented sprints there in order to really deliver much faster results moving forward. Next slide, please. So we're basing this on we're calling always AI augmented sprints, but where does the idea of the sprint come from? It comes here based on this book and concept from Jake Knapp that was created in 2016 when he was part of Google Ventures, as the design sprints, which is an interesting concept. And we will give you a short overview and then see what we can achieve with this one. It's a well-defined process with 5 distinct steps there. In the first one, you define a kind of really cross-functional team where you have marketing, sales, people in there, engineers, around 7 people, and you clear the calendar for a week. and everybody starts to focus and work on that one. On Monday, you really try to understand the problem, try to make sure how you define what you want to solve. Okay, if you don't define this clearly up front, then at the end there will be no good output there. On Tuesday, then you start to hash out the different solutions there, understanding the specific problem even more deeper that you want to solve, and kind of take one specific target that you want to address there. On Wednesday, then you really try to sketch out solutions, try to come up with ideas, and kind of a mix between a self-centered work and group session where you keep presenting, so everybody thinks for himself, then come together, kind of a mixed brainstorming sessions there a little bit, and you present your thoughts to each other there. On Thursday, you then start to build a prototype, in which way, however, it can be one prototype, 3 prototypes, in order to really make sure that it's kind of something that is more tangible rather than just an idea, just some words there, and start to kind of come up also with something that you can show there on Friday, when you then start to show this prototypes to customers, kind of 5 customers, and try to get an understanding and come them up to a solution and kind of moving forward actions there. So it's a very well structured process, but of course it also has a certain amount of shortcomings. So it's very sometimes hard to really define what the challenge is. So you start with the first one on Monday. Sometimes the setting up the team and bringing the team together is really a hit or miss here on the side. Then you have a certain kind of time constraint that will bring you kind of just having obvious ideas that are very well there. It's difficult to bring that team to think out of the box a little bit. Then when you go to the selection about the ideas, you have a selection bias due to the team that you have created there. So you're again restricted there. And then there's no time for what we call soaking. What does it mean? It's always very good when you have ideas that you let them sink in for a while, so that they just are there in the back of your mind and you pound over them and then come back to them and kind of, wow, yeah, and what if we do that one? So in this process, it's kind of restricted to this week, and there's no time for letting ideas soak in there. And with this, then you sometimes come then to kind of half-baked ideas, low fidelity things there. And at the end, sometimes it can result in really weak action plans. So you have a good session, but then kind of, okay, how you translate this into a product, how you move them forward into development, where are you going to funding? Is there a real business case? Is the business case really defined? Have people understand about, okay, how do we bring this into the market, and so on and so forth. And it really needs a lot of time. I mean, it's a week where you clear the whole calendar. I mean, I think that we all know with the busy calendars that we have, clearing a complete week for this one is really also difficult to do. So in order to address this, we have a combination of 259 automated tools that work together with 6 apps. It's kind of the AI for Innovation Toolkit here. Where we'll go then in a little bit more in details later, but that helps us to overcome some of these elements. So what we do is we take the sprint here and augment that with AI. So we move from the understanding, where we have the market assessment, to persona testing, and create what we call the true north there. Then we go to the framing the problem, going then over to the ideation elements, where we have kind of a review, idea merging, and so bringing this together, all with the support of AI tools here. And then building these ideas, create synthetic user testing elements there, create a high fidelity, minimal viable product, interview, do a risk analysis, all with the support of AI. And at the end, we come to bringing in a business model design there, create a pitch, have a pitch review, automated pitch creation that at the end is able to really pitch this and present this product.
You got to wait for this animation. I think is really cool. Yeah.
Yay, now it moves over. So what do? We bring this all together, we squeeze it in, and we then come to due that we automate a lot of this and enhance the whole sprint with those tools that give you a lot of more insight than what normally you would be capable to have with just a group of people in a room, we are able to, on one side, condense it, but also, of course, enhance it by a lot moving forward and have just 2.5 instead of the 5 days. But that is not the most important. The most important is the additional benefit that these tools will provide here.
One of the things that's really important here is the fact that you squish it down. You actually have more time off of the sprint. So there's a time for the ideas to soak and improve the ideas. And that's a really important thing when you actually do these things in practice. It's not how fast you go, but how right you go that makes the rain.
So it's a very well documented process that we have here. It has all the different documents which you will get later access to this. And it's just the deliverables, the process to ensure this. And everyone can lead such a design print. Even if it's done wrongly, it will generate the results. But we will ensure that we don't lead them wrongly. So we have also a lot of experience running this kind of sprints. Okay, so we have them for education, for business, for branding, for bright spots, business funding, market entry, and so on. So we have a lot of experience where we have applied this concept already in other industries. But what we're going to do now is we're kind of really introducing this design sprints, or this sprints here, AI-Augmented, into the healthcare element.
So there's three parts to this which are important. One is preparation, make sure you prepare for success. 2 is work with experts. The reason I'm working with Andrew and Oliver here is because you have healthcare experts, and then modifying to fit the needs of a category.
Exactly. So for the healthcare side, we then have what is the pre-event, where we then look at patents, for example, in a specific area automated, where we look at the partner research, where we look for, okay, which kind of other experts can we bring in there? And then as a further modification, we have a stronger focus there on what are the business models and of the synthetic users that we generate in order to bring it into the testing. So where we have the main power that the AI-Augmented brings here is that it really is able to reduce the time to market. Okay, if you take a TRL process, a technology review process, it's from level 1 till 9, and with the AI-Augmented sprints, you're able to really run this in this 2.5 days, okay, and come to an output there, in theory. And then while you march along from one level into the next one, you're able to revalidate it again and again and make sure that you stay on path there without the complications that you have with bigger groups and bigger meetings there. The other big advantage that I see also out of my experience is that have the support of AI, plus a Gen AI here, brings in a lot of stakeholders that you normally will not able to bring into such a meeting because they're not available, because it's too complicated to organize. Okay, bring in some physicians, bring in radiologists or whatever into such a brainstorming meeting. It's more complicated. AI gives you the possibility to reach out to this, to simulate that kind of personas there, that kind of stakeholders from the internal business, but also give you the ability to say, okay, how has this problem been solved in other industries? And by this have cross-pollination from different industries, how they have solved similar problems. It gives you the ability to create the right market fit here. Okay, let's take a product in the healthcare that has been there for 10 years and you have doubling around how you want to innovate and which kind of new features you want to bring in. Okay, with AI augmentation, you're able to just test and prioritize different features and understand which one might be better without the complications, and test this virtually also with a lot of personas and give you the validation about, okay, that will probably suit much better for it. And as I said, for me, very important is that you have the ability easily to bring in the business case, to create a business case that supports at the end the idea that you have generated, so that you are sure that what you generated will also survive in the market later on when you introduce the product. Now I hand over here to Bryan.
Okay, we're going to do a technical changeover here. So we're changing from Keynote, which hasn't been working 100% for me, to something in PowerPoint. But what I'd like to do is to actually open up the floor and see if anybody has any questions about what Andrew's been talking about or what Oliver's been talking about, because it makes fun to get some interaction coming here. If not, Gian Fabio,
we
go ahead.
We had a question in the chat. I was chatting back and forth with Fatima. Fatima asked if this model was tested in real life scenarios, and so that was before Oliver talked about. I'm sorry, yeah, Oliver talked about the other industries and the other types of sprints that have been run.
Yeah, it's probably, I mean, in big scheme of things, it's probably the most tested innovation methodologies you can come up with. And the reason why it works is it's pretty simple. You get people away, you get people focused, you get them focused on a specific problem, you put in ways to move it forward. And, you know, what happens is when you focus your energies, things tend to happen. And there's lots of different ways that you can run a sprint. But yes, proven time and time and time again. Other questions? Peter.
Brian, sorry, I can't see the hand raise thing, but I'm definitely convinced that AI can catalyze ideas and can right along the value chain, can speed things up. But I'm a little bit wary of this sort of all this not using words like guarantee and suggesting that an AI persona would really have the insight of a human persona. So for me, the bit that you've sketched out is missing the voice of the consumer or the voice of the customer. And I feel that's hard to be convincingly generated through AI.
Yeah,
I'm wondering, so because part of the sprint thing is these little expert inputs, external, voice of customers, voice of opinion leaders, and I feel AI is going to be kind of an anemic substitute for that.
Actually, let me answer that by saying, in fact, I agree with you completely. And the biggest issue running sprints in general, traditional sprints without AI, is very little customer interaction. They pretend they're going to do it, but they don't do it. What we've done within the AI sprint is we speeded up the first part, and actually we take a break, and it could be 2 days, it could be 2 weeks, it could be 2 months where you actually have to go out and talk to customers. If you don't talk to the customers, you're not doing your job right. So
but the simulated conversations with the AI personas can prepare you for the conversations with the real world customers. So that gives you a foundation from which to build this. This helps with preparation, if nothing else.
Yeah, what I understand there is really important is when you're trying to develop your customer interviews, the AI interviews can be a really fantastic way to learn how you talk to customers before you talk to them. Especially if you're talking to people that are hard to reach, you might want to know what you're going to say to them before you talk to them. Russ, you're up on top there.
Okay. Did I successfully unmute myself?
You did.
Oh, thank you.
You did indeed.
I think the conversation around AI and its use, and I come from healthcare, so I come from both healthcare and healthcare education. So we're talking about AI use and ethical AI use. And I think the one thing I have to keep reminding people is that there are things that AI is really good at, and then there are things that AI maybe shouldn't be used for, specifically emulating human emotion, human reaction, the irrationality of human beings, all that stuff. Maybe not a good use for AI, but it's really, really good at pattern recognition. And it's really, really good at doing the heavy lifting of like reading a massive amount of information and synthesizing it. And I think that's what I'm hearing is going on here. This is more of a data synthesis. This is more of a what kind of questions would be good to ask. And then it really requires that human element to kind of come in on the back end and fill in what it is we do best, which is to understand how humans think and humans behave. Would that be a correct encapsulation of what is going on here?
You said it better than we're going to say it. So spot on, man.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go through this. So we have this overview of an AI sprint, and what I'm hoping people will do is you'll interrupt me, ask questions as we go through it, because in fact, the comments like from Russ and Peter actually are spot on, because it's the questions you're raising which determine whether we're doing the right things or wrong things. So essentially, the stages we look at a sprint is we have a preparation stage. Actually, the most important part of the sprint is the prep work. What do you do before you get together is more important than what you do together. Then we go through a 2-day process, which is align and build. Day number 1, figure out what you want to do, build ideas. Day 2 is you look at checking those ideas and extending those ideas out. And what I think is unique in the sprint design that we've put together is the time for soaking, as Oliver was talking about, getting away from it and getting out of the door, getting out of the building, talking to customers, and lastly, putting it all together. As I was saying before, in fact, the most important part of this process is usually the preparation. Before AI was there, I had a good rule of thumb is for every day I spent with a client doing an ideation session, I needed to spend 1 week. With AI, we've cut that down. It's probably 4 to 8 hours for each day that we spend with a customer. And what we do is we use the AI as a powerful way to get things started. We do a market assessment and clarifying objectives, and we have a whole series of prompts. Some of them work in the category you're in, some of them not, but basically more prompts than you could possibly imagine to go out and collect some data. Based on that, we put together a first idea of what we want to do. This idea of what you want to do is basically your objectives, your constraints that you're going to be working with, which defines what you're going to be doing during the time in the sprint. And the step number 3 is we do work creating what I'll call a GPT. So basically all the research work we do, we put into a model which is accessible to everybody that's operating in the sprint. The second thing we do is realize that, in fact, a big part of what you're going to do in a sprint is customer validation, like Peter was talking about. Start developing the personas that you want to use within the sprint so that you've got them available. The next stage, day number 1, you get together. Morning, everybody's excited, ready to go. This is it. The typical sprint actually spends a lot of time doing something called a lightning demo. A lightning demo is people present ideas and they get feedback on those ideas. Actually, I think the problem that you're solving is much more important than the ideas that you're generating. Making sure that you get the problem definition right, as Oliver was saying, got the wrong problem, you get the wrong solution. So we start the time together, not with AI, but a demo, which is about what have we learned from the research? What do we recommend? What are the questions we need to consider to get people thinking deeply about what is the right problem? Because once you have the right problem, you have half the solution. We then take that stuff, we feed it back again, and we come back to defining what are the sprintable objectives we're going to have during the sprint. I'm not going to go into what this tool is. You'll get some stuff, free stuff afterward, but basically, a good sprintable challenge has an objective and it has constraints. And one of the things that makes a good sprintable challenge is there's a story with it as well. And this format, which is a true nuller, starts with a story, objectives, restrictions, and places to start. The second part of that first day is we do something we call mechanical creativity, and that is leveraging AI to generate ideas to the problem we're looking at. Now, when we run a sprint, we typically generate somewhere between 1,000, 2,000 ideas for a specific problem challenge. What we have is the input is the innovation challenge, and then we run a whole series of different ideations techniques to generate ideas to solve that problem. Now, one of the things you might be saying, well, this is really easy. AI can present lots of ideas. Yes, it can present lots of ideas. But what's interesting, and you'll see in just seconds, the ideas are actually better. So we have up online a toolkit called the AI for Innovation Toolkit. If you want to try it out, you can do it after this meeting. You basically select a method, you fill in your innovation challenge, you push a button, And what you'll get is you get ideas that stream out on the other side. And they come out at approximately this speed. So they keep on going, boom, 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 boom. You can look at lots and lots of ideas. Now, the most important thing here is not the quantity of ideas. In the old days, when you ran a brainstorming, you said, well, actually, the most important thing is the number of ideas you have. With AI, it's not the number of ideas that's the most important thing. It's the quality of the ideas. And what we're looking at here is actually the result of some testing we've done. We had people generate ideas on their own. Actually, they were students. They weren't people. So, well, students are still people. We had students using AI. And actually what we saw is when they started using AI, the frequency of good ideas went up. Effectively, what we had is students working on their own actually had about 1 in 100 ideas, which were really good. You give them AI, they get about 1.3 ideas per 100. You start using a clear definition of the target and AI again, we get about double the number of ideas. When we start looking at using AI in a smart way, we're getting 4 to 7 times more top ideas. Okay, this is important. This is not the number of ideas, but it's their frequency rate. People alone, 1 out of 100. People with smart AI, 7 out of 100. And you're getting a lot more ideas with the AI. Now, a problem that comes up when you do this is you end up with an information overload. What do you do with 1,000 ideas? Oh my God, before it was like, just give me a few ideas. I need to get a post-it up on the wall. Now you've got 1,000 post-its. So what we do is we use the AI to review and search for the good ideas, but we also have human beings go out on a treasure hunt, saying within all these ideas, what are the best ideas? At the end of the day, they have all their ideas in hand. They leave, finish the day, they're off to sleep for the evening. Now, what we do the next day is everybody brings their ideas back. And we start the day with a demo period. We're looking at what are the treasures you found? What are the best ideas? Why are they good ideas? How can you improve them? We discuss, we make decisions. Now, coming to Peter's point here, this is not ideas coming from AI. AI is giving you the spark for the idea. It's your job as a human being to improve those ideas, to make those ideas better than they were before. We take the best ideas, we make some decisions. We have a series of tools to extend those ideas to clarify and focus, modify and merge, lots of things there again. We make some prototypes. One of the things that Oliver was talking about is the issue with testing ideas. AI is really cool. You can make mock-ups pretty easy. And we do something called synthetic user testing. Now, Peter, I'm going to talk to you directly here. Why in God's name would somebody want to do synthetic user testing? And I thought, honestly, it was the most stupid idea I'd ever heard of. But in fact, if you go, for example, to this site, which is synthetic users, you do a demo, what you'll see is the insights that you get are very good and they're very consistent. And they give you insights to help you talk to real customers. Now, to give you an idea how this might work, I wanted to do a quick demo. This is a 5-minute, it's not 5-minute demo, took me 5 minutes to do. We talked at the beginning, Andrew talked about QuickPen. They're the challenge, it took them 15 years to get to market. How could we have used synthetic user testing to identify the challenges that were coming up? So we did a 5-step process. One is I didn't know this case, so I went back and got some retrospective data. And I created a product concept. Okay, I didn't know enough, so I had the AI do it for me. And basically, they gave me a testable business concept. I then said, look, tell me for this product, who are the key personas to success? If what we're trying to do is get this product quick to market. The AI gave me back 11 personas. I added a couple and came down to a final list. And then what we did is we said, okay, look, for each of these persona groups, give me feedback and suggestions to increase our speed to market. And it went through one by one. each one identifying what are the problems, what are the issues, what are the suggestions, how can we do it? And lastly, what we did is we said, okay, fine, give me your top 5 suggestions, and here are the top 5 suggestions. Now, I'm not going to go through this. To be honest with you, there's nothing really new here. What I want to show you is the power of using synthetic user to actually build a clear action list and get feedback fast. Time here, 5 minutes. In our toolkit, we have around 20 tools to do this much better. Okay, so you got your ideas. You got some feedback. Hopefully, at the end of the day, you've selected a few ideas. Now you come to one of the great mysteries of life. When I grew up, my grandmother had this in her kitchen. It bothered me immensely. It said, the hurrier I go, the behinder I get. As a 10-year-old kid, I said, it's impossible. How can you go faster and go slower? In fact, when you're developing ideas, when you're trying to build big things, sometimes you need to give ideas time to soak. So what you need is to get away, and you have to actually get out of the building. So we use the AI to do a couple things. We use AI to do human testing. We have a great tool set up which allows you to create an interview guide for the idea that you built, according to the book called the Mom Test, which, by the way, if nobody's read it, you should read it. It's the greatest book on market research. How do you iterate and improve? We have a pitch maker, because in fact, the last thing we're going to do is with the last day, we're going to come back and people are going to present ideas. So we give them a tool to organize their ideas. We give a tool to do a pitch review. And just to give you an idea of what this thing might look like, let me show you what we might do. So I've got a pitch. I'm going to show you, it's 1 minute long. I'm going to ask you to evaluate whether it's a good pitch or a bad pitch.
Hi, I'm Tori.
Oh,
My
shit.
company, India.
Do you hear the sound right now? Sure.
Yep, good to go.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Tori, and my company, Endiotics, makes tiny pill robots that swim through your body. We're putting the power of an endoscope into the form factor of a pill camera. Doctors use an Xbox controller with a live video feed to control it. It's basically a Mario Kart in your guts. While there's a $40 billion market to disrupt the GI device market, we actually feel that we're creating a fundamentally new category as we usher in the era of microsurgical robots operating inside the human body. Our team has been designing medical devices in Silicon Valley for many years now, and we feel the time has come to swing for the fences on our own. We're currently 56% committed on our angel round, and we're on the verge of first in human. Our minimum check size is $25K to accredited investors. So what are you waiting for?
First of all, was this pitch any good? Fingers up, fingers down, sideways. Yeah, kind of flat. All right. So what we can do is, and this is a great thing for your team. Okay. I don't know how many of you have sat through pitch sessions of innovation, but most pitches are not great. When you get people to structure the way that they make their pitch and you give them feedback, they make better pitches. So what you do is you take, for example, this pitch, you go to a toolkit. We have our Innovation Anywhere toolkit. You insert your pitch, you wait about 3 minutes, and what you get back is a report on whether that pitch was good or not. On this one, they're saying, actually, it's okay. In fact, it's better than average. But what's interesting, you get an objective score, you get 14 areas of improvement, you get alternative pitches, and you get a PPT outline. So basically, you pump this in, and out pops a lot of stuff. When I use this stuff in courses, before using the AI to help students make pitches, I had a 40% fail rate on pitches. When I give them a template to make the pitch and a tool to review the pitch, the failure rate goes down to 5%. Just imagine how much better things would be in your company if actually people could present things well. So we're done here. We're done at the soak period. You have a pitch. The morning you get together, we started out with the speed dating. People are presenting the ideas, what they got as far as feedback. This is what I think is good. Basically, we either do speed dating between pitch group participants, or we bring in experts. You get feedback, you get an hour to update your pitch, and then you have to pitch to management. We also allow management a few things to evaluate the pitch. We have a series of things to plan and make decisions on the quality of the ideas. It all comes together. So now a question comes up. Does this work? We've done parallel testing, and I'm looking, if anybody wants to be a client who lets us publish the results, I will give you a great discount. We have done parallel testing. So we have groups running the AI-augmented sprint versus groups which are human beings working alone. What we get typically is 2 to 3 times more results in half the time. And the reason for it is we fix a few things. One, we spend more time thinking about strategy. We get more time for testing and validation. We get bigger, better ideas. We get broader coverage. And we make the idea iteration process easier. And we end the week with a strong pitch. So our promise running a pitch is you can learn more, you can do more in 2.5 days than you ever thought possible. By the way, it's 2.5 days for you. It's not 2.5 days for us. What you get out of it is we discuss the key strategic issues. You get your team aligned. You get some bright ideas. You evaluate those ideas and make some real decisions. Budgets somewhere between 20 and 50,000, depending upon how they're run. A question you might ask is, could you do this on your own? The answer, of course you could. The only thing we do is we make it easier. Over to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Bryan. Well, we covered a lot of ground here today, and I'm really excited about this technology, and I hope you are as excited about the possibilities ahead as I am. So what do we do with this? Where can we take this? The challenges that our industries face are quite real, right? So the long innovation cycles, risk aversion, it's real, and it needs to be addressed. The toolkit and the methodology that we talked about today has been battle tested in multiple industries. It works. We actually will include data in the goodies that we give at the end. So there is rigorous research, there is data proving that this works, right? And I'm really excited to see where you can take this. We will also share access to the AI Innovation Toolkit, so you will get a chance to try it out for yourself. And I'm really excited to see where you take this. If at some point you need to spin up something quickly, just last week, on Wednesday last week, Novo Nordisk announced that they received a CRL, a complete response letter from the FDA, delaying approval for one of their treatments. When an external event happens, when a regulatory event happens or a market event happens, and you need to respond quickly, if you don't have time to spin this up for yourself, we are your best kept secret. Reach out to you. We'll share our contact information. We're happy to talk to you. And again, we're really excited to bring this toolkit, this technology, and this methodology to bear on the critical life-saving problems that healthcare deals with. We would love to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Offer to you. It's quite simply lots of ideas on how do you run a sprint. The whole book, my book, Cycles, is essentially about the tools that you need to run a sprint effectively. You can get a free copy, which is kind of cool. Secondly, is lots of stuff that other people have written on sprints and a link to try out the toolkit. All you need to do is to raise your hand, tell us a little bit about what you thought. We put in the chat a way that you can react. And I was looking at the note here from Oliver. Can we go through the chat and see what questions came out there? Because I think that'd be really good.
So let me see. Where are we? The first one that is still open is the question: what business environment has this process worked well in-house, innovation centers, or startups?
So in what it actually works in almost every sector. And in fact, it works better in old, slow companies than it does with startups. And the reason why it works better with old, slow companies is because the increase in speed is dramatically more. So startups are already nimble. They know how to do this stuff. You know, for you, it's a different way of running the way you do your business. Andrew, you want to add something there?
No, not on this point. I'm sorry, I was posting something in the chat, so my attention wandered for a second there.
Good. The next question is from Simon. Can the model be squeezed in a weekend? I'm making parallels with startup weekend events, which could benefit from such an approach.
Well, 2.5 days is the same as a startup weekend, so that's a pretty good fit. You do Friday night, you get alignment. I used to do scale-up weekends, which were basically taking the startup weekend formula, but applying it to companies that really had a business. And it's actually a lot more fun because instead of everything focusing on the pitch, you actually work on solving real problems. So Simon, yes, definitely could fit in 2.5 days. And if you want,
with a caveat of the weekend being so that's 2.5 days contiguous. That does not give us the space to talk to the customers. That does not give us the space to soak. So there may be a slight drawback to doing it like this, but it can be done.
Yeah. No, I think the challenge that comes up is really your commitment to go out and talk to the customers. And if you're willing to do it on Saturday night, then it'll fit together. And really the quality of your results, as Peter was saying, it's actually based on the insights that you get from real customers. It's not what the AI is telling you. It's what real people that open their wallets and buy your products and services are telling you.
The next question is from Debbie. How do you balance personal input versus automated AI? I think you covered this. Okay, perfect. Then I skip that one. Thanks, Debbie. Let me move to the next one from Sebastian. What about physical usability topics, which are crucial for medical devices and often depend on specific user groups? Can AI really help there?
Sometimes. Sorry, that's a bad.
That would have been my answer in the same sense. Sometimes, Sebastian, I think. Not always, but sometimes. Good. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh yeah, I think a very good question here from Anand. How safe is the tool? If you use it for ideas, is the confidentiality maintained?
It depends. A lot of companies, we use private LLMs to run the sprints, which are completely confidential. If you're using Copilot, which is the Microsoft version, the confidentiality is pretty good. If you're using ChatGPT, there is no confidentiality. It's pretty simple. Andrew, I saw you shaking your head there. You say Copilot's not very good, so it's actually.
Copilot has ChatGPT in the background. So ChatGPT has, depending on the access plan that you use, they do now have containers. They do have ways of accessing it that are more secure. If you just use the free version, yes, whatever you put in is used to train the model, and it can pop up in response to somebody else's question. So I would not do that.
So these were all the questions that we had in the chat. Any other questions that you would like to ask here?
Maybe I can just say it since I just put it in now. So I was just wondering if you have some ideas about best use cases for use of this tool. The challenge I have in my head is that in some cases, when you do sprints face-to-face, there's a lot of detail and discussions that happens, which is not always captured on any digital tool, and you eventually put down some more crystallized idea on paper. So I'm wondering, how do you take care of that granular discussions, in which in most cases, ideas are refined, and that may be missed if you need to then be capturing and also using the insights from an AI tool. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts around that, whether you feel this is more suitable for virtually managed sprints, or whether you also feel this is quite convenient for, face-to-face sprints done under the river or next to the beach, as we often do sometimes.
I mean, I think the beach is always better than sitting behind your computer. Come on. But I mean, I think the best scenario is a hybrid model. And actually, you might do some of the stuff online to get things started. But when you're looking at talking to people, I mean, really the best way you talk is not over a Zoom or something like that. It's physically talking to people and getting real feedback from people. So I think what you need to do is you need to, as much as possible, put in the human element, and more personal contact is better.
Yeah, of course, when you go out, okay, before when you're building the personas, you do a lot of external engagement, right? And you speak to your customers and you understand what the needs are. And then you need to come back and work on it. So I'm envisioning you're doing this when you're just a team. Or are you seeing this as a tool for external collaboration as opposed to the internal team working through whatever the insights and feedback are coming from external?
So there's a lot of research showing that, in fact, the diversity of a team is more important than the talent in a team. Mm-hmm. One of the problems you have in most companies is you have really, really smart analytical people working together that have the same mental framework. The best opportunities for you to bring external people who think different, act different, talk different, and mix it up. And also bring your customers in if you can. So I love the questions here, guys. This was really good. So what I was going to propose is, Andrew, I've talked more than I should. So why don't you, both of you guys, give a quick words of wisdom for the future from Andrew, from Oliver, and then we'll call it a day.
All right. Well, thank you, Bryan. I just have to reiterate, I'm really excited about the possibilities. I was skeptical. I tried the early version of GPT and it was not good, right? And that turned me off of generative AI in particular for about a year. So I did not jump back into the fray until mid-2023. But the technology is evolving so fast, and it is getting so good that I'm really excited about what's possible. And I do think that as the technology evolves, I hesitate to say this, but it's almost feels like more than technology, right? So we don't quite understand how the LLMs really work, what's going on there. Then again, we don't understand how human consciousness works either, right? So I'm not saying AI is conscious, but I am saying that it is more than the sum of its parts, right? So I think that with these tools and with the next generation of these tools and smart, dedicated humans, we'll be able to do what has not been possible ever before in history. And I'm really excited to see what it is.
I can not convey less to what you said, Andrew. Honestly, thank you everyone for joining this webinar. It's been a pleasure from my side. I came across Bryan some time ago when he was starting to do webinars around AI innovation, and for me it amazed me, because if I look at this and what I've done and tried out over the last months, is really kind of, you got the expertise of the world at your side in a structured process for innovation. Okay, and that I found amazing, because I can suddenly reach out and have feedback expertise that was not able there to have before. And that's where I see the biggest value, to bring this in a structured way, to run this and to get out feedback and expertise there. That's just unbelievable what can come out of such a process in that.
Mm-hmm. And I think The biggest thing that comes up is I like the story that Andrew at the beginning, 15 years to launch a product. We no longer have 15 years to launch a product.
Mhm. Yeah.
We have 15 months, 15 days. And
Yeah.
AI is going to be a big part of bringing those times down. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It was a good chat. Love the questions.